sworn in the state's sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, into office. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice has defended the president's decision, saying suspended Governor Fubara's actions left no alternative. The government is rejecting accusations that it is using the crisis to sideline political opponents and could replicate it in any other state. Adesua Omoran reports.
In Rivers State has been simmering since late 2023 when a dispute between Governor Sim Fubara and lawmakers loyal to his predecessor, now the FCT minister, led to the demolition of the State Assembly complex. Now barely 24 hours since President Bola Tinubu declared emergency rule, the Attorney General of the Federation has dismissed claims that the president was hasty in his decision. He argues that the Supreme Court had ruled that the governor was in breach of the Constitution and that the situation had reached a breaking point.
I will ask rather rhetorically, when do you think it should have come? When everything has collapsed? No. The law envisages that you come in when there is present imminent danger to the security of lives and property. People who are killing themselves. It's no longer news. It's not a question of making up the story. We all read papers every day. You know, if he had waited maybe a day longer, only God knows what would have followed.
Fagbemi also rejects claims that the decision favors the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike. He warns that similar actions will be taken in states where governance collapses.
Where do you put the minister of FCT in this case? Was he the one who asked for the demolition of the House of Assembly? Was he the one who said the governor should not present his budget to the House of Assembly? Was he the one who advised the governor not to go through the House of Assembly for purposes of ratifying the commissioner nominees? I don't know, because if you want to look at a case, you look at the facts that have been presented. The Supreme Court made these critical findings. FCT minister did not feature. Let the signal be clearly sent for those who want to foment trouble, who want to make the practice of democracy and enjoyment of dividend of democracy a mirage, to think twice. So it is Rivers State's turn today. It can be anybody's turn tomorrow.
The government says security situation in the state also justified the intervention, accusing the governor of enabling militants to attack oil installations.
There were what I would call telegraphing of the militants, I would say, by the governor. And the reason I said so was when he beckoned to them that, he would let them know when it was time to act, to the militants. Let us say it was wrong. Did he come out to disown them? The answer is no. And a week after, they swung into action.
The emergency rule suspends the governor, his deputy, and the State Assembly for 6 months, with an administrator taking charge. Fagbemi calls it a temporary fix, arguing impeachment would have removed the governor and his deputy permanently. He also says those opposing the decision should take their case to the National Assembly, which must approve the president's move, while confirming that seized state funds would be released if requested by the administrator.
I, Vice Admiral retired Ibok Ete Ibas, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will be...
Meanwhile, President Tinubu swiftly swore in retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas as sole administrator of Rivers State. After the ceremony, Ibas pledged to work with stakeholders to restore stability.
If the main issue is that of maintaining law and order in the state, I think for any meaningful activities to take place in Rivers State, that is the utmost task that I have, to work together with all other stakeholders to ensure that we bring peace, order, and security and stability to the people and government of Rivers State and Nigeria at large.
While critics call it a political power grab, the government insists it was a necessary decision to restore order and prevent a constitutional crisis. From the presidential villa, Adesua Omorwan, Arise News.
Thanks, Adesua, for that report. Rufai, Dr. Bati, we have now a statement from the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, coming out yesterday to justify the actions taken by the President. Are you satisfied with his submission, his arguments for why he wasn't hasty, why the President had to do what he had to do, the complicity of Governor Fubara, and the almost removing of Minister Wike from the entire crisis? Your take on this story?
At first, before we continue, I would like to greet Mr. President Tinubu this morning. Kábíyèsí o, kádé pẹ́ lórí, kí bàtà pẹ́ lẹ́sẹ̀. Igbákejì òrìṣà, kábíyèsí o. Because President Tinubu is kábíyèsí o. A man that can go against the constitution where there's no provision to suspend the governor.
In a democracy. In
a democracy, something he complained about. Even when he complained against Jonathan, Jonathan did not remove the governor, suspend the governor. They still kept the governor in place. So kábíyèsí, and I will be greeting him like that every morning. Kábíyèsí. My Egbon Lateef Fagbemi even knows that what he's saying does not have conviction. There's nothing in it. Egbon. I know this man, brilliant lawyer par excellence. But you see, you can't defend Magomago. It's difficult, no matter who you are. He's talking about the governor not curtailing people when they were going astray. He didn't see when Wike was threatening the Ijaw nation. He didn't see all the threats Wike made. He didn't see the skirmish Wike made when he went to do that rally, just over the weekend. He did not see the moves made by the governor when the governor rode to the State House of Assembly. When the governor went there and they were locked out, he didn't see all those ones. He should show us in the Constitution where it stipulates that you can suspend. Because Obasanjo did it, does he make it right? Dr. Abati has given them, I see, Dr. Abati, take it. Your analysis yesterday, take it 100%. I've given it, I know they are all scattered. I know they will be calling you at back. I don't care. We'll say it the way it is. You can't fault a law. It's the same law school everybody went to. It's the same things they taught everybody in the law school. Preservation of the Constitution. And even shows that when they wanted to plan the evil, they couldn't even plan it well. I'm even more ashamed because I thought they were strategists too. They didn't even plan on how to get the tutors from the National Assembly already. They didn't plan that well. So it was yesterday they were now thinking. They now went to the Senate. They were looking for tutors. They couldn't find. Now they now adjourned till today. Can you imagine? So in all of this, you people couldn't even plan on how to get your tutor properly. Then they started in their frolic again. I'm going to bring Senator Natasha's matter. They start a bungled recall yesterday. The world saw it. They lied to the people of Kogi that they wanted to give them empowerment. They got there just to be able to get their, what is it called, PVCs and all of that. You see, this country is increasingly losing the essence of democracy and is enthroning dictatorship. And that's why I'm calling President Tinubu kábíyèsí. And some people have started deceiving him now. Some people within the APC, they are saying, declare state of emergency in Osun. Go ahead, do it. There's nothing you can't do again. You have violated the Constitution. But it will be incumbent on the Senate to speak up as regards this. But, AGF Lateef Fagbemi, your arguments did not hold water. There were a lot of conjectures. There were a lot of half-truths. How did you know? Can you provide empirical facts that it was Fubara that bombed the State House Assembly? And as I wrap up this point, see, okay. I'm not talking here totally in favor of Fubara. Fubara and Wike, they are the same. They both ran the state. They were both shenanigans. Fubara benefited from a flawed election process under Wike. What we are fighting here is for the principle. Fubara is just the one on the receiving end of the fight against principle. It's not that I'm saying Fubara is a saint in this matter. I rest my case.
All right.
kábíyèsí.
Okay, I would just like to deal with some of the fallouts from yesterday. I've had some ambulance lawyers. There are lawyers that are ambulance chasers. Again, that there is a particular law that was passed in 2018 empowering the president to suspend or remove the governor of a state or the democratic framework in any particular state. Now, it is strike law that a subsidiary piece of legislation cannot be superior to the Constitution. Anybody who ever passed through a faculty of law should know that you cannot use an act of parliament to vary the content of the Constitution. The only thing you can do to the ground norm with the Constitution is to amend it. So failing that, all the people are saying there was a piece of legislation in 2018 that gives the president powers, I say no. And I say that they are wrong. If they have evidence to the contrary, they should provide it. And I'm not even sure that that particular bill, there was a bill to that effect, I'm not sure that that was passed into law. The second point is that the Section 305 that everybody is quoting is very clear. It says that the president will take his gazette, his proclamation, to the National Assembly, and that the National Assembly will either, approve it or reject it. Section 305 sub 6 says 2/3 of each of the two houses, the red chamber, the green chamber. Now, the question that this raises is, why the haste? Because yesterday, the president, just went ahead and, swore in the administrator. Well, obviously, I was advising the sole administrator yesterday not to accept that appointment. But I think that I offered that opinion in vain. He himself was probably very much interested in grabbing that position. But there is no provision in the 1999 Constitution for the position of a sole administrator.
Yeah.
This sole administrator now quickly went to Port Harcourt and has been giving speeches. He will work with people. He knows where we get here. It's enthusiastic, desperate acceptance of that position speaks fully to the Nigerian character. This, it is my turn and I will grab it kind of thing, whether it is legal or not. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation, whom I accused yesterday of misadvising the president with due respect, has now said in one of the things I've seen in the reports that, the federal government even helped Fubara, otherwise he would have been impeached.
Yeah.
Well, if he was impeached, that would have been a better route for the government to take, because that is constitutional.
Yes.
It's in Section 188. It can be removed, it can be impeached. After all, the Godfather said, if you impeach the governor, it is not a crime. And, that would have saved the president the embarrassment of the kind of conversation that we have been having since yesterday, that the president overreached himself. So the Attorney General should have given the proper advice. All the excuses that are now being given are flimsy. I even saw one statement saying, it was Fubara that organized the explosion of pipelines, along the Bordeaux-Bonny axis. Now, if they have any proof to that effect, then by this morning, the federal government should have arrested him, because that will amount to a crime against the Nigerian state. That will amount to economic sabotage, and economic sabotage is not allowed. So it's not enough for newspapers to just say, Fubara was the one behind the explosion. No, please, that's not an intelligent thing to say. And now, beyond all of this, that same Section 305 sub 6 says that the National Assembly should act within 48 hours. And that if the National Assembly is not in session, it should act within 10 days. Now, there has been a big miscalculation. What is a big miscalculation? The National Assembly is rushing now to meet that provision because it is it cannot form a quorum. Yeah. The embarrassing thing we are hearing is that most of the members of the National Assembly are either in Europe or in the US or in some other parts of the world for religious reasons. So Nigerians have seen that these legislators, they are just absentee legislators. And that is why we say that there should be a part-time unicameral legislature in Nigeria, because these people, they don't even, they are not available when Nigeria has an urgent issue of national importance. So we have to now, they are looking for quorum because everybody is on holiday. That again is embarrassing. But now to the issue of quorum. 48 hours will expire today. Let us assume that by some magic, because even the Constitution of Nigeria does not allow for WhatsApp voting. It does not allow for absentee voting. You have to be physically present. Let us just assume that today they are able to form that quorum, and everybody will be present also. The threshold for the House of Representatives is 270. The APC does not have 270 members in the House of Representatives. I think they have maybe about 172. So they cannot, on their own, form a two-thirds majority. In the Senate, the threshold is 73. I think the APC, the ruling party, has 58 in that Senate. Now, what it means is that if all the opposition members do not support this proclamation by the president, it means that it is dead on arrival. And so we call on the opposition parties to defend the Constitution of Nigeria, to defend democracy by mobilizing their members, not to vote for an illegal, dissolution of democratic structures in River State. Now, that voting process must also be televised. We want to see who is the House of Reps member, who is the senator, who is going to vote against the Constitution of Nigeria, so that the people who put them there would, ahead of the 2027 elections, know who supported what many groups have condemned, from Femi Falana to Rotimi Amechi to Rivers Women United for Fubara to Nigerian Labour Congress. Only the presidency is saying what we have done is right. We want to see that voting live. And I hope that the political parties will speak to their people to say that you must stand for what is right. After that, they may go and impeach Fubara, but that will be the right thing to do. That will not be a problem. Yeah. But to read into the Constitution what is not there is the challenge. Absolutely. And all those lawyers saying anything can be done with the Constitution, well, I don't know which faculty produced them.
All right, a lot has been said. And just to say that this is why we often speak out for a strong opposition and a thriving opposition for a democracy to thrive in Nigeria. Because this is the moment of truth for us. The numbers have been broken down already. If the opposition parties vote against this, what has been largely termed to be unconstitutional, despite the explanations given by the AGF, then they will not be able to pass this on. But if we have just one party system whereby opposition members are in disguise, then we would really understand the true nature of our parties. And that's why a lot of people didn't express confidence, because of what is going on. Can parties actually mobilize their members in the current state of things, when there are factions, people supporting this faction and the other factions in the leading opposition parties in the National Assembly? But all eyes on the National Assembly today. Hopefully they will be able to meet and finally be able to pass a vote on what has been termed on. Well, they also said that the president hasn't sent them the Gazette. He hasn't gazetted it yet. So even though the president himself in his speech had said he had done that, but now the ball is literally in their court, and their decision will then set a precedent for Nigeria. The other group that, again, we're looking forward to them speaking. And this morning just received the report about the South-South governors releasing a statement against this, this call for a state of emergency in Rivers State is the Governor's Forum. And the reason this is important for them in particular is because if this happened in Rivers State, no state is excluded from that. It means at any point in time, the same reasons given for why a state of emergency was declared in Rivers State can also be given for many other states. I cite the example of Lagos State, for instance. During the NSAS protest, there was a breakdown of law and order. People, using the example or the justification by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, who said that people were killing themselves, it was a preemptive action, and that's why it was hasty by the President. The same could have been said with what happened during the October 2020 incident, where a state of emergency wasn't declared, even though a curfew was declared. And we've seen pockets of violence in different parts of the country without a state of emergency being declared. That is why it is difficult to justify this particular decision by the President. In fact, what the South governors are calling for is that a legislative or a judicial process should have sorted out this issue that's taking place in Rivers State, as opposed to an executive fiat. That would have been a better conclusion to this matter. And don't forget that for a very long time, calls have been made to the President to rein in a principal actor, and whether or not they acknowledge it, Governor Wike has been a principal actor, agitator in this Rivers crisis. Many people were not shy to say it, and he himself had granted interviews, held media parleys, had talked, had gone to Rivers State in itself to declare that where he stood in this whole matter. And so if one man can hold a state to ransom, and if he were not backed by the state or backed by the President, we wouldn't be where we are today. And so it's not just an erosion of democracy, it's an erosion of the people's will in Rivers State. If his election into power, that is Governor Swaers, was flawed, at least the people, to a very large extent, voted him in. You cannot violate the wishes of the people through an election by an executive fiat, except for very strong reasons. And in fact, the Constitution doesn't even make provision for that reasons, as has been analyzed consistently by a wide range of stakeholders. And so today, we watch and see just how strong our democracy is. I dare say that the votes in the National Assembly today would tell us just where we are headed as a nation, particularly as a democracy, and particularly as to how strong our institutions are, or if it is in the control of one person or a party. And that is what Nigerians are watching today. All eyes on the National Assembly today.
Real quickly, I have a couple of things.
Yeah.
I'm just getting some message from my sources that there's an urgent need to say this, that they plan to use voice votes this morning to pass the emergency votes. This is contrary to the 1999 Constitution as amended, which stipulates 2/3 of the votes. Nigeria needs to know. This must not be done with voice votes. It must be televised.
We must
so
see who
we
is
are
voting
getting intel that this is their plan to use voice votes to pass emergency votes. This is contrary to 1999 Constitution. It must be 2/3 and it must be televised. And secondly, the pretext President Tinubu put in his speech yesterday that they bombed the Trans-Niger pipeline. Yeah. The Trans-Niger pipeline, as of today, is already back in operation, is working. I just needed to point that out.
Thank you very much. Thank you for